And we are coming on the air tonight with breaking information about a second arrest in connection to that deadly school shooting in Georgia. 54-year-old Colin Gray, the suspected school shooter's father, has now been charged with 14 counts, including second-degree murder and manslaughter. And there are still a lot of questions swirling over whether that shooting could have been prevented after the FBI has revealed that the 14-year-old suspected shooter first came onto their radar last year for making threats online. We go now to Georgia, where a press conference from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is about to start. Turning now to what officials are saying.
The shooting here at Apalachee High School. Colin is Colt Gray's father that was arrested yesterday. He is charged with the following: 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. Mr. Gray, these charges stem from Mr. Gray knowingly allowing his son, Colt, to possess a weapon. This is a very difficult time, as we know, for students and parents, and so many, I know, of students and parents here in this county and around this state are afraid. You all have likely seen reports of incidents of other students making threats today at various schools around our state. In each of these incidents, police, law enforcement took charges, they made arrests, acted very swiftly, as we take incidents like this very seriously across this state. This is a time for all of us as a community and a state to come together and remain vigilant. Students must be supported and encouraged here in this community and across the state to contact a member of their school faculty with any and all concerns of suspicious activity that they may see. Local, state, and federal law enforcement will continue to work together around the clock in relation to this incident here and any other incidents that come up around this state that raise concern to the safety of our students, faculty, and citizens here in the state of Georgia. Additionally, Colt Gray, that was arrested yesterday for this incident, has now been charged with 4 counts of felony murder. And again, we will continue to work tirelessly to complete this investigation as we move forward. I will go ahead and mention to you, and as I say sometimes, I'm going to go ahead and apologize to you. As y'all all know, that this is a murder investigation. It is a very serious investigation, one that we take serious, one that we will continue to diligently work on and be very thorough with it, with the GBI and our local partners here. So you'll have to forgive us if we don't answer a lot of the questions that you ask. I know you have many, and we wish we could answer many of them for you, but we still obviously want to maintain the integrity of this investigation because it has a long way to go for it to be finished. Again, I also want to remind everyone that we need to continue to pray and support the victims that were involved here, the school teachers, the faculty, the students, obviously those that lost their lives, their families, and those that were injured. So I'd like to call on the sheriff to come and give you a brief update on the status of those that were injured from yesterday's event. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hosey. As Director Hosey said, I'd like to say that obviously we're lifting up those families. Our hearts are hurting for them, our kids, our students, our teachers. But the 9 injured, I am very happy to say will make a full recovery. And that's a testament to the response that we had, in my opinion, the response that medical staff responded with, in my opinion. And we're very happy to say that they will make a full recovery after that response. Again, please lift up our community. Please keep these children, these teachers. We call them teachers, but I call them heroes. We met with them today. Emotions are very high, obviously, but we told them that we love them. We love our teachers and what they do. And we're very happy at the fact that they stood in the gap between evil to protect their children, and we want to include them in the lives that were saved as well yesterday. But I wanted to report to you that all 9 people that are injured will expect to make a full recovery. Thank you.
Are they still in the hospital?
Several of them are still in the hospital. Some have been released.
And, Director, can you please explain, did the father actually give the gun to the suspect?
Well, I'm gonna leave it as how I mentioned it in the release, that he knowingly allowed him to possess the weapon.
Director, can you tell us about how the arrest happened today? Did he turn himself in? Did you guys make contact with them? How did that go with investigators this afternoon with that arrest?
I'm honestly not familiar with the details. All I can tell you is that he is in custody at this time.
Is it likely anyone else will be arrested in this case, or is that still just being worked on?
It's difficult to say at this point in time. We're obviously still investigating this, following all leads, all evidence, and we'll set to see where it takes us as we progress forward.
Do you believe that the arrest should have been made sooner?
The arrest was made when we had the probable cause to make the arrest.
Do we know when his first court appearance will be?
I'm not sure. No, ma'am.
Did Dad bring him to school?
I'm not sure about that either. I'm sorry.
Are you able to explain the charges and how he has more charges than the suspected shooter?
Not in great detail. The biggest thing, as I mentioned earlier, is that he is in custody at this point in time. His charges are directly connected with the actions of his son and allowing him to possess a weapon.
Sheriff, will he be housed in your facility? Is that where he'll be held? How does that move forward from here?
He'll be held in the Bexar County Detention Center.
Will his mugshot be available tonight, or will it take some time until tomorrow to get his mugshot?
It depends on how long it takes us to book him, but if it's available, we can get that to y'all tonight. If not, tomorrow.
You said some good news that some have been released. Do you know the numbers of patients that have been released, victims?
I don't want to speak to that because I don't know the exact number, but I know that I want to just report that all 9 would make a full recovery and be able to leave the hospital.
Sheriff, are those 9 people that were injured, do we know if they are a mix of students and teachers or staff, or are they just students?
I believe 2 were adult teachers, and the rest, which would be 7, would be students.
Director, can you tell us about...
There's precedent for charges like this?
I'm sorry?
Can you explain whether there's precedent in the state of Georgia as far as the GBI is concerned for the father or parent to be charged for the crime?
I don't have any details on any history of it, but I would venture to say it's not something new.
Can you tell us about the evidence that led to these charges?
No, ma'am. That's part of the ongoing investigation. I apologize.
Sheriff, after all this time with him being able to talk with investigators, you were pretty strong yesterday with saying this was an evil act. It's very sad, obviously, but looking back at what the 14-year-old's been able to say to investigators over the last 24 hours, can you reflect on just what this community is facing after what he allegedly did at this school?
What we're facing, heartbreak. We're heartbroken. A young person brought a gun into a school, committed an evil act, and he took lives, and he injured many other people, not only physically but mentally. But I'm proud of Bexar County. I'm proud of our superintendent. I'm proud of these teachers. I'm proud of these schools. And I'm proud of where I live. And we'll get past this. You see behind me, up here on the hill, we got a vigil going on at our flagpole. I welcome you to go see those kids and those young people that are hurting.
Director, can you please explain whether you're still expecting more charges?
I think I answered that earlier. Our investigation is still ongoing, so we'll see where things go with our investigation, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. That's all we have for tonight. Continue to follow GBI on X. Please monitor our website. We did not anticipate another update, but as you can see, it's fluid. Things are developing. Again, we appreciate your patience and your support and your continued prayers for the victims. Thank you.
Now, just to recap, we have learned that the father of the suspected Apalachee school shooter is now being charged with murder in connection to the killings of 2 students and 2 teachers at that high school. Investigators saying the charges are directly connected with the, quote, actions of his son. We also learned that the 9 other victims are expected to make a full recovery. We are going to be going to NBC News correspondent Priya Shrithar. You just heard her asking some questions at that press conference in just a little bit. But for now, just to recap here, law enforcement, they rushed to that school yesterday at 10:23 a.m. That was minutes after being alerted of that active shooter situation. So how do they know exactly where to go? Well, it was because of these panic buttons that we were talking about yesterday, and NBC's Tom Winter has a closer look at how they worked.
As we see another ambulance cruise on by.
It's the start of a new school year in this country, and already there's been a shooting.
Pray for these kids.
2 students, 2 teachers shot dead in Georgia. But law enforcement says somehow this could have been a lot worse, if not for the technology they rolled out in just the last week.
The teachers each have an ID with their picture on it, and they have a button on that ID, and they press it so many times, and it alerts us where that incident is occurring.
Technology born out of lessons from past shootings that teachers need the quickest and simplest way possible to tell police something is going horribly wrong, setting off a chain of events.
It also locks down the school screens. We're on lockdown, and the teachers know to go in and block the doors, and they begin doing that as well.
Centegix makes the software used at the school in Georgia, and they're just one of several companies providing these solutions. One of those companies, first highlighted on this program almost a year ago, was born out of the Parkland, Florida high school massacre.
Parkland's literally in our backyard, where I'm from. I actually was right nearby that scene that happened that day, and I'll never forget the sirens, the lights, the police.
Gino Raffaero explains how his app, Safer Watch, works. I pop this app open, you say, and I hit this button right here and say it's an active shooter. And you say, hold this down for 3 seconds?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's instantly notifying law enforcement, and they're able to instantly see who reported the emergency, exactly where it's happening. You can see it knows exactly where in the building that we are. It knows the incident type. It knows the name of the school.
Right, and I have the option here, if I don't want a phone call because something's happening in my classroom, my office, wherever it is, I can say do not contact, or I can say, hey, I want somebody to call me, I need some help.
Exactly. You can decide your own contact preference depending on the situation that's happening. So when they're arriving on scene, they're more prepared, and they're able to take the appropriate actions.
Safer Watch isn't law enforcement. They say they act as a conduit between police and people reporting a crime. It's a tool that hits home for Lori Alhadeff.
My daughter was Alyssa Alhadeff, who was tragically murdered at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on February 14, 2018. Alyssa was only 14 years old.
She's pushing for Alyssa's law, which would mandate panic button type technologies in states across the country. So far, 7 have passed the law.
It helps to honor my daughter, Alyssa, keep her memory alive. And every time that panic button is pushed, I know that Alyssa is saving lives.
Tom Winter, thank you. And for more on that breaking arrest of the suspected shooter's father, we just learned about, let's go to NBC News correspondent Priya Sridhar. She joins us now from Winder, Georgia, where she was at that press conference. Priya, what more do we know about the charges here against the father, Colin Gray?
That's right, Gadi. Pretty explosive developments here tonight. We know that 54-year-old, Colin Gray has been charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 8 counts of cruelty to children. The director of the GBI who delivered this news said that this is because the father knowingly allowed his son to have a weapon, but he wouldn't really elaborate beyond that. We tried to press him for what evidence he had to sort of back up these charges. He also didn't have any details about how the arrest actually played out, how it happened. We do know that he's going to be taken into custody, or he is in custody, I should say, with the Barrow County Sheriff's Department. And there's been a lot of questions tonight, Gadi, about exactly what this father knew. You've been reporting that he was actually interviewed by Jackson County Sheriff's deputies just last year when several anonymous tips were given on an online gaming platform that this 14-year-old suspect could have been planning a school shooting just like the one that he actually executed here at Apalachee High School. So now there's several questions about how this could have happened if the FBI knew about those threats and then sent out those Jackson County deputies to interview both the father and the suspect. We do know, I got an opportunity to sit down with the sheriff of Barrow County today, that this suspect had actually recently moved to this area from Jackson County. So they were not aware that this interview had taken place. They didn't know that he was on the radar of both federal law enforcement and also the Jackson County Sheriff's Department until basically yesterday. So we're going to be learning a lot more in the coming days. The suspect does have his first court appearance, Gadi, tomorrow morning.
And Priya, so many people are watching this and they're hearing that the suspect was on the FBI's radar. They're understandably frustrated that more wasn't done. Any response from the FBI or from the Sheriff's Department that did know about this visit?
We haven't gotten any statements from the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, but according to the Barrow County Sheriff, who I did that one-on-one interview with today, he doesn't believe that anything sort of fell through the cracks. He believes that the system worked as it was supposed to, that the federal authorities did notify the local authorities, and that in this situation, because this happened to be the suspect's second day of school here at Apalachee High School, that they simply were unaware of him. They didn't know anything about his previous history. And, you know, I asked him directly, is there anything that you would have done differently? And he said at this point, not really. You know, I know you guys were just talking about that app that the Sheriff's Department had implemented here at all the schools in this school district. And that was just 10 days ago. And it really allowed the teachers who were inside of the school to click on their badge, a button on their badge, which put the school on a hard lockdown. And the sheriff was able to show me on his phone that he could then see a blueprint of the school and exactly where those teachers were standing when they pressed that button. And he says that that really made a difference in this mass shooting and that it could have been so much worse. They were able to respond, he says, within 6 minutes because they knew exactly where those teachers were located, Gadi.
And so far from the suspect, we understand that he was taken into custody pretty quickly afterwards. Do we know if he's cooperating with investigators and anything about his background other than the fact that he was clearly on the FBI's radar?
Absolutely. We do know that authorities have been conducting interviews with him and with his family members, which could have been what led to this. You know, when the FBI had done their interview through the Jackson County Sheriff's deputies last year, the father had revealed that he does keep hunting rifles inside of his home. But he said that the 14-year-old suspect didn't have unsupervised access to those rifles. So we do know, and I should also add that here in the state of Georgia, there is no minimum age requirement about who can have access to something like a hunting rifle. But the weapon that the authorities are saying the 14-year-old suspect used in this case was an AR-style weapon. And they're not giving us any more information at this point about where exactly that weapon came from. But now, of course, we're learning based on this latest information that they do believe that the father had something to do with this. And by the way, Gadi, we also asked, you know, is there any precedent for these kind of charges against a parent here in the state of Georgia? And the director of the GBI said that he wasn't aware of any parents being charged for shootings conducted by children. But of course, you probably remember the Crumblies, the mass shooting that happened in Michigan recently, where those parents were also faced with charges because of their son's shooting. So we're seeing a very similar situation play out here in Georgia now.
We should also note that during the press conference we just saw, we got an update about those 9 victims that are expected to make a full recovery, right? What are we hearing about the victims that are still alive, and how are the victims that were lost being remembered today?
Absolutely. Well, I got a chance to speak with one of the family friends of the math teacher and the football coach who was tragically shot and killed yesterday. And she said that he leaves behind a wife and 2 young children, and that his wife is just completely shattered. There were about 6 hours yesterday where they weren't sure. They were getting conflicting information if he had been airlifted or medically evacuated from here in Winder, Georgia, back to Atlanta. But then by the end of the day, they did find out that he tragically had died. But the good news here, Gadi, as the sheriff said in the presser, the remaining 9 gunshot victims are all expected to make a full recovery.
And we hope they have the speediest of recoveries. Priya Sridhar, thank you so much for this developing news out of Georgia tonight. Priya, thanks. And a major new development in the Hunter Biden legal saga tonight. The president's son pleading guilty to 9 federal tax charges here in Los Angeles. And that avoids a second trial this year, which would have yet again revealed a lot of embarrassing details about his personal life and addiction. The younger Biden pleaded not guilty in January to charges of failing to pay millions in taxes from 2016 to 2019, and instead spending the money on drugs, escorts, girlfriends, and luxury hotels. Today's dramatic plea deal was a surprising move by the Hunter Biden and defense team, something that prosecutors did not find out about until the day started in court today, literally right before jury selection was about to start. They first attempted to enter an Alford plea where Biden would try to maintain his innocence but plead guilty because of the evidence against him. The government, however, denied accepting that plea, so Hunter Biden accepted an open plea. NBC's David Noriega is with us now. David, quite the reversal we have here, and all of it happening like moments before jury selection. Can you talk to us about how the day played out in court?
Yeah, Gadi, it was a roller coaster of a day here in the federal courthouse behind me. When we all arrived here this morning, and I mean all of us, media and all of the parties involved in this case, we all expected that the process of selecting the jury would begin today, continue tomorrow, and the trial itself would start on Monday. There were some murmurs, but no concrete indication of a possible plea deal. Then, shortly after the judge had explained how the jury selection process would work, Abby Lowell, Hunter Biden's counsel, said there is no need to proceed with jury selection because Hunter Biden, my client, intends to change his pleas. That came as a surprise to everybody, not least the prosecutors in the case, who said this is the first we're hearing of this. As you pointed out, the initial gambit that Biden's legal team was attempting was to enter an Alford plea, which would mean accepting the conviction and the sentence, but maintaining his innocence, so not admitting wrongdoing, factually speaking, in terms of the criminal activity alleged in the indictment. The prosecution was not having that, and it seemed like the judge wasn't having it either. It wasn't likely that Biden's team was going to get its way with that. So at some point, Hunter Biden decided to just go ahead with a straightforward guilty plea, what's called an open plea, meaning that the plea was not part of an agreement with the prosecution. He was essentially putting his fate in the hands of the judge, saying, I am guilty, please have mercy. The idea is that this might result in a lighter sentence. Last thing I'll note, Gadi, both Hunter Biden and his lawyer, Abby Lowell, made statements, some in person here outside the courthouse. In the case of Hunter Biden, a written statement decrying this prosecution, calling it unjust. In Hunter Biden's statement, he said that the prosecutors were not after justice, but instead wanted to dehumanize him for his actions during the worst moments of his addiction. So they are very seriously criticizing this prosecution and saying that the only reason Hunter Biden pled guilty was to spare his family any further embarrassment and humiliation. Gadi?
Speaking of his family, could President Biden pardon him? Any indication on whether that might be in the works here?
The short answer is yes, Joe Biden could pardon him, but there is no indication that he's going to do so. In fact, we have indication of the opposite. Biden has consistently indicated for months now that he was not considering pardoning his son or commuting his sentence as an option. And today, aboard Air Force One, reporters asked Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, whether the guilty plea today changed his calculations at all. Karine Jean-Pierre's answer was no. Joe Biden is still not considering a pardon or a commutation. Of course, the presidential pardon power is incredibly broad. Joe Biden can pardon Hunter Biden until his very last day in the White House. Any statements that he makes to that effect now do not have an impact on whether he can pardon him. So for now, at least, we're just going to have to go on the president and his aides' words. Gadi?
Fascinating stuff. We're going to join now NBC News legal analyst Angela Sinandela. Angela, quite the day over there at the courthouse. We started with the possibility of an Alford plea. Then we took an open plea from Hunter Biden. Can you walk us through what these two things are and how it benefits Hunter? And also, he didn't take an Alford plea. However, right afterwards, that statement very clearly taking issue with what went down from the Hunter camp.
Right. So he actually wanted the Alford plea, him and his lawyer, but the prosecution and the judge denied it. So it's up to them to accept it or not. And in this case, they decided not to. So the open plea, Gadi, was extremely shocking. And this is why. When you have a high-profile defendant like Hunter Biden, especially when represented by an amazing and brilliant lawyer like Abby Lowell, they are not entering a guilty plea unless they get something in exchange. So what an open guilty plea is, which is what happened happened today is that he's not getting anything in exchange. It's like, let's just move to the end, pretend a jury came back with a guilty verdict and go straight to sentencing. But usually what happens here with a guilty plea, and not an open one, but a guilty plea that involves a plea deal, is that the prosecutors will either dismiss charges in order to get the guilty plea, or they will offer this, they will say they will reduce sentencing. They will recommend a lower sentencing to the judge in exchange for the guilty plea, but that is not happening. All we're doing is just moving and fast-forwarding steps. Now, the Alford plea that he wanted is also interesting because it doesn't really benefit him. It doesn't change sentencing at all, but the Alford plea is often used when a defendant just doesn't want legally on paper to show that they are admitting that they have done anything. And it really comes back to Henry Alford. It's named after him, a man who said he did not commit any murders but was willing to enter a guilty plea in order to avoid the death penalty. So again, Alford pleas are also done in order to get something here. Now, where it will benefit Hunter, though, is that often when you do have a judgment of guilt or a guilty plea, it can hurt you in civil lawsuits moving forward. But if you say with this Alford plea that you were actually innocent, he is somewhat protected from future lawsuits in having this guilt continue with him, if that makes sense, Gadi.
It totally makes sense. Now, it looks like this is all coming to an end, but if we remember correctly, like there was a plea deal in the Delaware case against Hunter Biden. That fell apart back in that day. Could this deal that we're seeing today also fall apart in the coming days or coming months?
So that's exactly correct, but this one will not fall apart, and that's because the judge accepted it. And what happened before is that both the prosecutor and the defense presented this plea deal to the judge, but the judge refused to stamp it with the judge's approval because of discrepancies in their understanding. But here, at this point, the judge did accept this plea, and so he is now admitting his guilt. So we are now fully moving to sentencing. There's no take-see, back-sees here, Gadi.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of sentencing, what are we looking at? What's the possible prison time, and what are the possible fines?
So it seemed like very unlikely that he would have gotten prison time had there not also been a recent conviction that happened in the Delaware case. But given that conviction, it seems likely he will face some amount of prison time. He can face over a dozen years, but it seems like it would most likely be in the maybe 1 to 2 to 3 year area. But again, the judge actually has discretion here. And in fact, it will help him a little bit, the fact that he is not doing the Alford plea, but is actually doing the open plea with the small reason that he is accepting responsibility. And sometimes judges will take that into consideration if the defendant appears to be accepting what they did.
Angela Sinandela, always appreciate your analysis. Thank you. And don't go anywhere. We are just getting started. Up next, China puts an end to adoptions of its children to foreign countries. That and other stories trending around the world are coming up straight ahead. Plus, here in LA, it is hot. It hit over 100 degrees here at Universal City today, and the temperature is still going up by the minute. NBC's Bill Cairns will have the forecast. And the NFL kicks off tonight. But do you know how much some of these players are making? In some cases, they are banking in a day what most of us take home in a year. Forget yards and forget touchdowns. Our Brian Chung has the real numbers you're going to be talking about later this hour. Hey, welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. Police in Munich got into a firefight with a gunman today before killing him. They think he was going to attack the Israeli consulate there on the anniversary of the 1972 Munich Olympics massacre, where 11 members of the Israeli Olympic team were killed. The suspect was from neighboring Austria, and it appears he acted alone. There is no indication that anyone else was hurt. And UK prosecutors have dropped assault charges against Harvey Weinstein, saying that there is no longer a realistic prospect for a conviction. Weinstein was originally charged in 2022 with 2 counts of indecent assault against a woman in London in 1996. Now, last year, Weinstein was sentenced to 16 years in prison after being convicted of rape here in California. This year, his sex crime conviction in New York was overturned, but Manhattan prosecutors say they are going to retry that case. And China says it is putting an end to almost all international adoptions. China's foreign ministry says an exception will be made for adopting children of family, though she didn't really give a reason for the decision. Now, the program has seen tens of thousands of Chinese-born kids get connected with families in the U.S. and other countries for the last 30-some years. And Pope Francis's first stop on his 11-day tour of Asia and Oceania is in Indonesia, and thousands gathered there inside of a stadium for an open-air mass. After Indonesia, the Pope will travel to Papua New Guinea, East Timor, and Singapore. And strong words today from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He is firing back at some claims from the Biden administration that a ceasefire deal was essentially 90% agreed on. Netanyahu saying that is not the case and they are not at all close to a deal. Thousands of Israelis took to the streets for the 5th day in a row to protest the prime minister's decision so far. And NBC's Matt Bradley has the very latest from Tel Aviv.
Tonight is the 5th day of protests here in Israel, and it's been every single day since Sunday, all of them demanding a hostage deal ever since the killing, the murder of those 6 young people in the Gaza Strip. And then we heard about that news over the weekend by Hamas, according to the Israeli Defense Forces. Now, this has been every single night. They've been diminishing in size every single night. But the significant thing is that they're still going on a nightly basis. We've seen these protests before, but for the past 11 months, ever since those October 7th attacks, they've been going on a weekly basis. So the question is, will these protests sustain until the weekend? We could expect a lot more people on Saturday night, both because it's a night off and because that's the traditional day for these protests in Tel Aviv. But the real question is whether or not these loud outside voices are being heard in the halls of power. The short answer so far is no. Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, has said twice this week, once in Hebrew and then again last night in English to the foreign media, that he will not make concessions to make a deal to free those remaining nearly 100 hostages still in the Gaza Strip. His main point both times was that he's not going to yield on what's called the Philadelphia corridor. This is just another name for the border area between the Gaza Strip and Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. He says there needs to be an Israeli troop presence there. That was very, very difficult for the Egyptians who share that border, and a non-starter for Hamas, which is also the group that, of course, is holding these hostages along with some of their partners in the Gaza Strip. This has caused outrage in Israel and accusations that Benjamin Netanyahu is deliberately trying to torpedo this deal.
Matt Bradley, thank you. And coming up, a busy day for the FBI in New York City. Investigators seizing the phones of the police commissioner. What that could mean and what we're learning about 2 other raids involving top aides to the city's mayor. But first, you got to see this. A tractor trailer in Virginia crashing into an overhead sign and then folding the thing in half. Police say the cab completely detached from the truck, and that's when the driver finally realized something was wrong and stopped. He's been charged with reckless driving, but thankfully no one was hurt, and it did shut down the highway while crews had to clear out the wreckage. The cause of that crash is still under investigation. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, and here's some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. The suspect in the Chicago train killing spree appeared before a judge yesterday. Ronnie Davis is accused of shooting 4 people on a commuter train early Monday morning, and prosecutors say 3 of the victims were asleep as he pulled that trigger. They woke up to each one across 2 trains. Police say surveillance video shows no prior fights or confrontations. He's being charged with 4 counts of murder. And Houston police today honoring a fallen deputy. Mar Husseini was shot to death on Tuesday. Now, a gunman ambushed that officer in a car while on his way to work. So far, the motive isn't clear, and the suspect was later caught in Galveston, Texas. He's now charged with murder. And a Florida surgeon might have made a fatal mistake, allegedly removing a patient's liver instead of their spleen. The man actually died on the operating room table, and the family of the man says it happened back in August at a hospital in Miramar. His widow is pushing for criminal and civil proceedings, and the hospital and the police are investigating that death. And U.S. soccer superstar Alex Morgan says she is retiring. The 35-year-old is an Olympic gold medalist and a 2-time World Cup champion. She's also pregnant, expecting her 2nd child. Her last game with the San Diego Wave Football Club is this Saturday. And hotels in the Grand Canyon South Rim are back open today. It's after this water shut down there last week when the park's only water line burst. That left people stranded over the busy Labor Day weekend. Crews were able to fix the line and started pumping water again today. And in New York City, the FBI raided the homes of top aides to Mayor Eric Adams today and the home of the city's police commissioner, who's been in charge since last year. NBC's Jonathan Dienst has more.
Sources say the home of First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright, searched by the FBI and the city's Department of Investigation yesterday. a home she shares with David Banks, the city's school chancellor. Also facing scrutiny, Phil Banks, the deputy mayor for public safety, along with a third brother, Terrence Banks, who runs a consulting firm. Also having his phone seized, mayoral advisor Tim Pearson. City Hall sources say this criminal investigation appears to be separate and in addition to the ongoing criminal investigation into Mayor Adams' fundraising and whether money was illegally funneled into his past campaign from overseas in Turkey. The counsel for the mayor issued a statement. Investigators have not indicated to us the mayor or his staff are targets of any investigation. As a former member of law enforcement, the mayor has repeatedly made clear that all members of the team need to follow the law. One FBI search was here at Chancellor Banks and Deputy Mayor Wright's Harlem home, another along this block in Hollis, Queens at the home of Phil Banks. Phil Banks has faced scrutiny before when he served in the NYPD. Federal prosecutors called him an unindicted co-conspirator, but never charged him in a corruption case where two businessmen allegedly provided gifts, including vacations. In yet a separate criminal investigation, SDNY prosecutors seized the phones of the police commissioner, Eddie Caban, and several of his top aides. A police spokesman said the NYPD is cooperating with the feds in this separate investigation, which appears to, in part, focus on quality of life enforcement of bars and clubs.
Jonathan, thank you. And up next, the hottest music festival ever, or just fanning the flames of another potential nightmare? The guy behind this, the failed Fyre Festival, says he's gearing up to give it another go. We're going to explain after the break. Hey, welcome back. And here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following right now. A wildfire in Central Oregon has torched over 80,000 acres, and so far it's 0% contained. The Rail Ridge fire is currently burning in an area near two national forests and has already caused closures in some of them. According to the fire department, the fire was started by a bunch of lightning strikes in that area. And 3 people are in the hospital after a chain reaction crash in San Diego, and it was all caught on camera. You see it here. This is a green Subaru that starts to lose control and swerve onto the shoulder of the highway. Then once it gets on the 163, the Subaru crosses all lanes of traffic, hits an SUV and the divider, causing it to flip right there. Police are still investigating and trying to figure out exactly what happened. And a hiker was found alive and well in a Washington State National Park a month after he was reported missing. Back in August, the local sheriff's office was notified that other hikers saw the man's abandoned car at the park and his dog was found 8 miles away. Officials spent several days over the course of a month trying to find the man, but they were unsuccessful until a few days ago. And the West Coast is sizzling just here in Los Angeles, where I am right now. Take a look at this. This is the temperature outside. The high today is just crazy for September, 106 degrees. Highs are hitting up to 25 degrees above average in some parts, stretching from Southern California to Washington. Now, this has been a summer-long trend. Death Valley saw its hottest summer ever from June to August. The hottest temperature recorded there was 129 degrees on July 7th. And Phoenix set an even longer list of records. This was the city's hottest June on record, hottest summer, and hottest year to date so far from January to August. It also set a new streak of more than 100 days hitting 100 degrees and a new record of 56 days hitting 110 degrees or more. Those are some troubling numbers considering Arizona's Maricopa County has confirmed 177 heat-related deaths so far, with hundreds more under investigation. And with this extreme heat continuing over the next few days, cities like Portland, Seattle, and Spokane could set record highs as well. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns joins us now. Bill, so what could those record highs look like over the next few days? I mean, just what we're seeing and what we're feeling outside is insane.
God, I'm so happy that you showed the temperature where you are. Do you want to guess? I'm standing in front of it purposely. What do you think the temperature is at the airport right now? Because people have to understand, Southern California is you can go 2 miles and the temperature can change 30 degrees. So at the airport?
Okay. Yeah, let me guess. So here in the valley, it's usually 10 degrees hotter. Airport, another 10 degrees, like 109, 110.
No, I'm talking about LAX though, by the cool water, by the ocean.
By the water. Okay, not Burbank.
No,
let's say like 95.
80.
Oh
it's 80.
My gosh! Wait, hold on. You're trying to tell me to go to LAX right now? That's
I'm
crazy.
telling you, it's the only time you ever want to go to LAX. There's a reason why it's really expensive property right on the coast, right? This has been a pretty wild day. We're close to setting some all-time September heat records. So Phoenix is at 114. The record high for today is 115. They were already earlier today at 117, so they broke the record high for today. And the hottest day ever in Phoenix's recorded history in September is 118. So they're very close to that. They may have tied it. We're going to wait for the official reading. So this isn't your normal weather pattern. I mean, this has been a pretty crazy all through the desert Southwest into Southern California. And how about our friends to the north? Portland's at 101 degrees right now. I mean, that's Portland. A lot of people, some people don't even have air conditioning in the Pacific Northwest. So 52 million people under alerts and advisories and warnings. And tomorrow we're going to take the temperatures down a little bit. Not so much in Los Angeles. Still about 100 to 105 inland locations. Las Vegas 106. Phoenix will drop you down at least a couple degrees, but still it's blistering hot. And look at Redding and Portland once again. I mean, Portland's 22 degrees warmer than they should be. Finally, by the time we get to Saturday, things begin to settle kind of just hot instead of like incredibly hot. LA back into the 90s by the time next week starts. Phoenix, though, is going to stay in this 105 to 110 degree range. No relief for them at all.
Wow. And you've got heat on the West Coast, but there's also this growing flooding threat across the Gulf Coast. What are you watching there?
Yeah, Gadi, it's interesting because if storms don't get a name in the tropical season, people don't pay attention to it as much. But if this was a tropical storm and we were like, hey, it could rain up to 10 inches, people would be talking about it a lot more. But right now, it's just a regular old storm spinning in the Gulf. But you can see here, there's a lot of precipitation. So the green's the light rain. When you get into the yellow and the reds, that's heavy rain. And we take that from southern Louisiana all the way through Florida. So what we have going on here, here's your little weather lesson for the day. Dry air is coming from the north, tropical air to the south, and they're colliding. And when that air collides, it obviously can't go down into the ocean, so the air goes up. And when the air goes up, it forms showers and thunderstorms. We call that convergence. And anywhere along this boundary, we do have a chance of significant flash flooding over the next 2 days. And that's where we could see isolated totals could get up to about 10 inches of rain. So 6 million people included in this. Of course, we'll watch cities like Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Panama City, even Jacksonville, Florida is under a flood watch. Predicted rainfall totals for most of these areas is anywhere from 2 to about 5 inches of rain. But if we get those isolated totals up to 10 in any of the cities, we will see significant problems as we head towards, especially tonight and tomorrow morning. I got my eyes here, Brunswick, Georgia, and also southern portions of Louisiana. So an interesting setup, Gadi. Again, if it was a named system, everyone would be like, hey, what's happening with that heavy rain threat? But because it doesn't have one, it's just kind of our association with these storms this time of year.
Yeah, what a way to head into fall. Bill Cairns, thank you. And remember a few years ago when we got not just one, but 2 documentaries about the infamous Fyre Festival?
Fyre Festival was supposed to be the new Coachella, the new Burning Man.
Exclusivity with access to premier talent.
It was going to be an experience.
All these models, like in the Bahamas. The most insane festival the world has ever seen.
Island getaway turned disaster.
It became very barbaric.
Well, like a phoenix rising from the ashes of past fraud, the guy behind that festival is back. Billy McFarland is announcing that Fyre Festival 2 is officially on, and tickets are going for as much as $8,000 despite no venue, no date, no performances announced. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky, who has more on the fest. So, Morgan, how can a convicted felon like Billy put this festival again together and expect people to show up?
Gadi, sheer passion, exuberance. I don't know. It's very interesting to look at this now. He announced this about a year ago on YouTube, but again, didn't share any specifics, but it's starting to heat back up again because the initial date that was shared, Gadi, was December 6, 2024. Here we are just months away, and we still don't know when this is going to happen, exactly where this is going to happen. And as a precondition, it doesn't appear that hosting Fyre Festival 2 couldn't happen as a result of his past condition. He still has to check in with the probation officer. He cannot leave the state of New York without permission. And anything he earns, he has to give a portion of that, a percentage of that, to restitution to those victims of the fraud. But he won't share how much of that is. And so as it stands right now, He's made this big announcement, but there doesn't appear to be any legal mechanism in place to actually stop him from hosting. And I think that certainly caught a lot of people off guard. And yet, many more questions than answers right now.
Once a hype beast, always a hype beast, I guess.
Sure.
We saw that picture of him with Ja Rule. We know that Ja Rule was supposed to participate in the last one, got mixed up in all of this.
Sure.
There was also like the rumor that Blink-182 was going to be performing. All kinds of different performers were allegedly attached to this. Are we hearing any inklings of anybody attached to this one?
All we're hearing right now, Gadi, is that there will be big performances. No specific names attached as of yet. I think that that's one of the differentiating factors here. I didn't have a chance to speak to a gentleman who owns a hotel off the coast of Honduras, which is one of the potential locations in the Caribbean that McFarland has said he would like to host this Fyre Festival to. I asked that gentleman, he had been a business owner at that location for decades now. I go, how confident are you that this event will happen? He goes, I'm very confident. He says that McFarland of today is not the McFarland of several years ago, and that he has some business partners around him that are significantly more well-versed in hosting these kinds of events, and that's why he's comfortable putting his business reputation on the line as a potential vendor here. I did ask him, though, Gadi, I said, hey, the website says December 6, 2024. He goes, well, it's probably not going to happen on that date, definitely in 2025. So you can kind of see some cracks already starting to form here. It would have been very easy to put on the website TBD, right, or still trying to figure it out. And yet here we are.
Interesting. Did he say if he had seen those two documentaries?
He did not admit to watching either of them, but he did say that McFarland had promised to fly to Honduras within the next couple weeks to scout locations and make a quote-unquote firm decision on where Fyre Fest 2 would be hosted.
And we'll be watching very closely.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And before we go, it is time for the future of everything and the deadly school shooting in Georgia that we were talking about at the top of the show. That's reignited the debate about cell phones in the classroom. So how worries about students staying in touch during a crisis is sparking a new conversation. We're tackling that in the future of communication. Plus, we're also talking about the new NFL season by the numbers. Big money for quarterbacks, why salaries are soaring, and why the person getting the biggest paychecks might not be who you think. There has been a fierce debate about whether cell phones belong in the classroom. We've brought you stories recently about phones being put in lock boxes or lock bags and the impact of total bans. But the deadly shooting we saw yesterday in Georgia is shining a new light on potential consequences. Kids not being able to connect with parents during the unthinkable. And NBC's Rahima Ellis has more.
When shots rang out in Winder, Georgia, Area Bowling called her mother Tabitha from inside the school.
It's scary, and I'm thankful that she did have her phone so that I could know that she was in this situation.
Increasingly, schools nationwide are putting limits on kids' cell phones. Tonight, the tragic school shooting has a lot of parents concerned about staying in touch. Carrie Rodriguez is president of the National Parents Union. What are you hearing from parents?
Deep frustration, deep fear, deep anxiety that they're not going to know what's happening with their child if an emergency arises. And frankly, if a child needs to reach out to a parent for help and support, they should be able to do so.
2,100 middle school students in Marietta, Georgia, have been locking their cell phones in pouches since last spring.
Where we wanted students to be focused and present and free from distractions in class.
Superintendent Dr. Grant Rivera says the decision came after extensive discussions with parents, teachers, and law enforcement about what to do in an emergency.
One of the dynamics they've shared with us is that we don't want students being distracted by cell phones while they are listening to the directives and commands of adults who've been trained on how to respond.
Dr. Rivera says, unlike some other schools, in Marietta, every classroom has a device to quickly unlock the pouches in the event of an emergency and when it's safe to do so. Tonight, parents and schools trying to strike a delicate balance between learning, safety, and being connected. Rahima Ellis, NBC News.
And finally tonight, imagine being 28 years old and making $160 grand A day, not a year, not every 2 weeks, every single day for like 5 years straight. Well, that is the number to keep in mind as we head into a brand new season for the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Baltimore Ravens tonight. And we're not even talking about Patrick Mahomes. In fact, he is number 12 on the top paid quarterback list. For more on who's making the most money and why, let's get over to our numbers guy, business and data correspondent Brian Chung, because Brian, none of this is making any sense to me. Who is on the top of this list here?
Yeah, Gadi, it's an unfathomable amount of money. If we're talking about the top 4 athletes in the NFL, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're not even 30. Joe Burrow with the Bengals, Jordan Love with the Green Bay Packers, Trevor Lawrence with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Tua Tagovailoa over in Miami. They're making over $200 million over what would be 4 to 5 year contracts. If you average that out per year, that's over $50 million each. You can see they were trying to basically one-up one another and ended up kind of in the same place on a yearly average. But we also have to remember these are performance-based metrics in some cases. Yes, they have money that's fully guaranteed, but if they want the full money, which in some cases could be hundreds of millions of dollars, they're going to have to perform on the field, Gadi.
Meanwhile, like Mahomes has to be seeing this list, and he's like, what the heck? I have 3 Super Bowl wins. Burrow doesn't. In fact, besides Burrow, none of these other guys have even like sniffed at the Super Bowl here. Is this not a meritocracy?
Well, we just have to remember a few things. Even though, yes, Patrick Mahomes might be the most recognized name here, if we're talking about the numbers here, Patrick Mahomes is making about $45 million a year. That is certainly less than the $50 million figures that we're talking about with those prior competitors. But when we're talking about the length of his contract, he's making a lot more over time. That's why we're talking about a $450 million contract, because it's a 10-year contract. So the reason why, well, Patrick Mahomes has proven that he can win Super Bowls. They want to get that duration in. These guys have only 4 to 5 year contracts, just in case maybe it doesn't pan out for them.
Oh, okay. So I was feeling a little bad for him. Now I feel a little bit
He's
better.
okay. He's fine.
In the long run, do wins equal bigger paydays?
Well, again, we know that Patrick Mahomes has won. So if we talk about the 4 top paid athletes in the NFL right now, again, the numbers are kind of all over the place. Look at the passing yards, touchdowns. Again, for the uninitiated, this means you're a better player if you get more touchdowns. Joe Burrow, 107. Jordan Love right behind him, only at 39. But we have to remember, Jordan Love has only been in the league for a few years now. And we have to remember that also the idea here is that you're betting big on these athletes. Yes, they might have a losing record over in Green Bay so far, but if they have the generational talent to become the likes of Mahomes, maybe that's why you pay him the big bucks now. You give him a 10-year contract when he proves that he can win you some rings. That's what you're trying to bet on. We'll see whether or not they bring it home. I hope the New York Jets, my home team, does it, but we'll see. I've been disappointed many years before.
I am just reconsidering all of my life choices at this point. Brian Chung, thank you so much, bro. And that does it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.